This is the NBC Television Network.
Greetings to all you night nuts around the world. Today, I'm going to take you on a very special journey. One that transcends time. For the next half hour or so, I will transport you back to 1982. A time when man perms were a thing. When only one car talked. And when the worst crime that humanity committed was a couple of crooked cops setting speed traps. And if you were sitting there wanting to say to me, "Thank you, Joe, for bringing me this amazing episode," well, my response would be, "Hey, you bet. It's no big thing." Once again, we do not have an NBC promo commercial for this episode, so in its place, we're going to show you a late 80s syndicated series promo. Enjoy.
You take a direct hit, KITT. They're the action team. I don't think we want to find that out. An unstoppable combination.
We're going for it, partner.
The man. The machine.
Michael, look out.
David Hasselhoff stars in Knight Rider. Weeknights at 5.
Before we get started, I wanted to ask you guys a question. If you were invited to the annual Foundation for Law and Government Halloween Ball, who would you dress up as, and why? I know that's kind of an odd question, but I'm looking forward to seeing your responses. Leave them in the comments below. And now, let's see if Michael truly can break Devon out of the slammer. Here we go. Production 57313, No Big Thing. This episode was written by Judy Burns and directed by Bernard L. Kowalski. It originally aired on NBC Friday night, November 12th, 1982 at 9 p.m. Brought in about 14.7 million viewers. Not bad. The filming dates were October 13th through the 22nd of 1982, and this was the 7th episode to air, but the 9th episode to be produced. Here we have Devon's Mercedes 380 SL. Now this is the first appearance of Devon's Mercedes, but we see this car a number of other times throughout the series, namely in Chariot of Gold, Knights of the Fast Lane, Halloween Night, Night Sting. We also see a hardtop version in Whitebird, Nobody Does It Better, and so on. So for first appearance here. And wanted to just point out Devon's license plate. I mentioned this back in the episode for Just My Bill about how they used, in that episode, they used a bunch of nondescript white license plates. Well, here you'll see they use the California colors, but they don't put the word California on the top. It's just 288 BAG. And this is somewhat of a reoccurrence in the series. You'll see a lot of background plates that are California colors but don't say California on the top, and this is one of the first examples here. And here we have our first appearance of Ted Markland, who played Sergeant Ted Wallace here, kind of your quintessential bad cop. Ted the actor, not the character, was in a number of series that are going to sound familiar to you: Cagney and Lacey, A-Team, Hill Street Blues, The Dukes of Hazzard, Fall Guy, T.J. Hooker, Simon and Simon, and he even reunited with David Hasselhoff on Baywatch many years later. So unfortunately he passed away in 2011. Note the camera. You can see the reflection of the camera crew here. These are the some of the lights that are shining off, and if you look really closely, you can see the dolly and some people here in the reflection of Devon's Mercedes. Our first appearance of KITT in the episode, driving. This is just a montage with some really cool Knight Rider music playing in the background, and not too much to note here. This is the stunt car, so we are 7 episodes in, well, 9 episodes if you count the order that they were produced. We're still dealing with 4 Trans Ams, 1 Flivver car. None of that has changed quite yet. This is the stunt car. We can tell that because there's no tow bar here, and we kind of have a squared off overhead console that we can see. So this is the stunt car, and it's supposed to be Michael driving by himself, but if you look very closely, there's someone else in the passenger seat. And then we cut to this scene, and this is now the backup hero car, which looks similar to the stunt car at this point in the series. We still have the squared off overhead console, but we've got a tow bar on this car. And we have, and I mentioned this in the previous episode, we've got a fog light grille that has fallen partially down, and we still have the droopy turn signal covers, and we've got a passenger side seat belt. So these are some of the details how we can tell these cars apart in these early episodes. We have KITT saying to Michael that he's about to run out of fuel, and then we get a close-up of this fuel gallons meter, and you can't see it obviously in the screenshot, but this first LED is blinking, indicating that they are very low on fuel. What you may not have noticed is that this insert shot is of a display that is not in the actual car. So take note here, this is obviously the tachometer board, right? There's the start of the arch for the tachometer. We have fuel gallons as the first one. Then we have mass flow pounds, fuel flow gallons per hour. And look, when we go ahead and look at the regular stage dash, look over here. It's actually inlet temp. And we can see these other two are the same, mass flow pounds, fuel flow gallons per hour. But that inlet temp is the actual indicator that should be there, not fuel gallons. So they obviously didn't have an indicator for the fuel that they liked, and they instead inserted it right here for this one close-up scene, then we never see it again. So because of that, Michael is pulling into a gas station and back up to the hero car here, and we can see just barely that driver's side fog light grille has completely failed. And as we pull in, you can clearly see the fog lights on this side, so it's completely gone at this point. And then Michael talking to KITT, and this is still the backup to the hero car. It's a nice close-up where KITT's saying he doesn't want to have his tanks purged. And we've got, a seatbelt guide here. One of the interesting things is you can tell that they've already swapped seats in and out. I mean, they're taking seats in and out anyways because of whenever they are blind driving these various cars, they have to pull the actual seat out. But these cars, sometimes you'll have a seatbelt guide, sometimes you won't, and it's all because they're swapping seats in and out and putting them in different cars. I mean, it's just a jumble of all these parts mixed amongst the different cars that they have. And if you remember in the last few episodes, this squared off overhead console was kind of drooping, so you can see that they've repaired it and it's now back up top. And you can also see that they put a nice long piece of gaff tape right here, probably to cover some kind of a defect in the factory overhead liner. The gas station attendant here, for some reason, is assuming that KITT's gas tank, his filler door is behind the license plate, which is just odd because the Trans Am and even KITT has the General Motors factory door on the side. So why they decided to do this scene like this, I don't know. I guess it's so Michael would be behind the car while this guy tried to fix KITT. But if you take a look here, you can see that they just wired in this pipe down below, which they're going to use here in a minute. I'll show you. So then we see a close-up after Michael says that he'll take care of filling the gas. They show this close-up of him opening this door, and if you look here, they just used a Trans Am door handle for this insert shot. So it's a Trans Am door handle that they mounted to this this other door that he pulls on and opens like that, and that's supposed to be the filler door. But then you cut to the scene, and all Michael's doing is putting the gas in that pipe that was wired to the bottom of the car. So there you go. We can also see this plate on this car is August, and we know this is 1983 because the red stickers were 83, the yellow were 82, and the green were 84. So this is another, if you look at the different cars throughout the first season, you know, most of the cars had the May 1980 yellow 1982 stickers. One or two of the cars had this August of 83 sticker, so it switches back and forth. And then Michael is going to leave, and he gets in. This is still the backup to the hero car, and if you look here, you kind of get a decent look at the dash. You can see that they just have a crude shell on top that's cut right here. We have the factory dash pad underneath. It does have a gull wing in, but you can see it has all the original Trans Am gauges are still in here. There's the headlight switch, so they didn't do anything with that. And the door jamb stickers, surprisingly, to this day, these door jamb stickers survived. This is usually one of the first things to go whenever they were converting or maintaining a Knight Rider car, because they would constantly be repainting these cars, and a lot of times they would either spray over the labels in the door jamb, or they would remove them completely. So this is an instance where they just for some reason never bothered to do that, and this actually helps us identify this car much later in the series whenever we're not dealing with 4 Trans Ams, when we're dealing with, you know, 12 or so. There's a few instances where we can still see these stickers, and that helps us to identify it. But these stickers are still on the car today, and the VIN on the sticker matches the VIN of the car, so we know that it's the original door. And then Michael was pulling out, and just a couple odd things to note here. We're back to the hero car. And one other thing I wanted to mention is you're going to notice in this episode specifically that they pretty much, with very few exceptions, only use the hero car for the towing shots. So whenever Michael or someone else is in the car and they're pulling the car, for the most part they're using the backup to the hero car. And my guess is that there was some mechanical problem with this hero car for most of the filming, so they just put it in neutral and towed it most of the time and used the backup to the hero car for most of the other scenes. But we do see right here we've got a wire. I don't know if that's a microphone. It's probably not a microphone. It's probably a power wire for maybe the lights on the car or the cameras. And we do see up top there's a metal rod right here, and this is some of the support to hold in the lights. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the white wire here. If you want to know what the white wire is, go back and watch our pilot commentary. And here are the popular music sound-alikes we hear in this episode.
When we are ever gonna change, lying under the bed till nothing else remains.
And those are your sound-alikes from this episode. Our first appearance of Bonnie in this episode. One thing to note is, you know, in a number of the previous episodes, I've talked about how the writers were trying to, you know, awkwardly make Michael in love with Bonnie, and you know, she would spurn all of his advances. This is the first episode where we get a glimpse of the two of them as, co-workers and friends, just in the way their dialogue is. Now, even though they're not in the same room together, the way they talk on the phone kind of indicates that, they're friends and they respect each other. So take a look at that the next time you watch this. And this is Jim Haney, who played Frank Reston in the episode. Not too much to say. Another accomplished actor. He was in Escape from Alcatraz and 48 Hours, Highway to Heaven, Hill Street Blues, Moonlighting. So Dallas. He's got quite a collection of credits under his name, and still alive today. But it looks like he's in mostly semi-retirement. And here we have Granger Hines, who plays Rex Saunders, Officer Rex Saunders in this episode. Veteran of the A-Team, Fall Guy, TJ Hooker, Simon & Simon. Still very, very active today. He'll reappear in Season 4 in Night Racer. This other sheriff here that Officer Saunders is talking to, notice he's reading this Bronco magazine. But take a look at this back cover, this Viscount ad. This is a dummy magazine, and that Viscount back cover you'll see on some other prop magazines throughout the series. So keep an eye out for this Viscount back cover. It shows up many times again. Michael pulling into Lyndhurst Flats in the hero car, again being towed because we think that there was some kind of a mechanical problem with it. And we see back here we've still got the plexiglass style inserts for the PMD seats, and we've got a nice paint chip here out of the dash. And of course we've got the wonderful Logan Ramsey, who in this episode plays Judge Roland S. Paxton, and he appears again in Night Strike as one of the two people who claim that KITT hit him in the parking lot. So he'll show up again. Here it's more of a he's one of the main villains, but in the other episode it's comic relief. So it's interesting to see the dynamic change there. Michael pulls in to Lyndhurst Flats, and look what we see driving right in front of the camera. The AMC Gremlin. Thank you to all of you who noticed my mistake in the last episode by calling it a Pacer. I knew it wasn't a Pacer, but it's one of those things where I just had it in my head and I never remembered to correct myself. So Gremlin, and it's passing right in front of the camera here. Same one that we see in those previous episodes. And here's Mary Margaret Humes, who plays Carol Reston. And we already mentioned this in a previous video, but of course, very accomplished actress, and she was up for the role of Bonnie. Obviously didn't get it, but I guess as a consolation, she gets to guest star in this episode. And after they leave the sheriff's station, they get in the back up to the hero car again. And here you get a real clear look at the triple fog lights without the grills in place, which is kind of rare to see this. Normally, anytime you have the triple fog lights, they're all covered in grills. So here's a rare instance where you can actually see them. And Carol wants Michael to tell her about the wonderful features of KITT, and we get this really cool look at the insert dash. So this is filmed on a soundstage. And not too much to note, but anytime you see the close-up of the buttons being pressed like turbo boost, it's this dash here. And you'll notice that on this steering wheel, instead of a hole here to mount the steering wheel to the Trans Am steering column, it's just an indent. And that's because they didn't have to mount it to a Trans Am steering column. They have it mounted to a giant pipe behind the dash, which I talked about prior, and that's how they can make the wheel turn by itself. And this guy is Duke Stroud, who played Captain Butler in this episode. He is the brother of Don Stroud, who played Hilly in Good Day at White Rock. Michael and Carol leaving the police station. In reality, this is the Burbank Public Library, but makes a nice prison exit, I guess. Jimmy Murphy, right here on the left. He'll appear again in Custom Made Killer, unfortunately, as the man who has his Camaro destroyed by a train. And this is Louis Elias. And in this episode, he plays Paulie, but we see him again in Junkyard Dog and Night of the Juggernaut. So he appears 2 more times in the series. And then we have this great aerial shot of just KITT driving down a road. And many of you have noticed this before, but in this shot, we have not 1, but 2 KITTs right there, driving side by side. So, well, not driving side by side. One is parked on the side of the road, the other one's driving by. So that's obviously a filming error, but still cool nonetheless. If you ask me which cars these are, I have no idea. It's a little too far away to tell, but probably the stunt car and the backup to the hero car would be my guess. And then KITT's on alert, and we see this close-up of the security alert. What's interesting here is this is not actually a display that is on the insert dash. So it looks very similar to surveillance mode, but it says security alert. So and we don't see this anywhere on the insert dash. My guess is they took the label off of the surveillance mode and put security alert on it just for this scene. Again, why they didn't use some of the other displays that are already on the insert dash, I don't know. And why KITT had to show this on his monitor, I don't know. But this is the one and only appearance of security alert. Here we have the result of that security alert, I guess you could say, is this truck, and then KITT's in reverse trying not to get hit. And we've got the shell on here, the rubber shell. And if we zoom in a little, you can see the lines here, and you can see how the car just looks a little bit more bulky, and that's why. And if you look under here, we know this is the stunt car, because in a previous episode in our analysis of Good Day at White Rock, we told you what this bar under here was for, and you can still see that it's still on there. This is the oil slick bar. I'm sorry, the smoke release bar, right there. And then Michael, right before he gets out of the way, this is the hero car, but the trunk is open if you look over here. And then this is still the stunt car. Great shot on the inside of this round dragster style wheel, not dragster style wheel, but the round stunt wheel that would become very much commonplace on most of the Knight Rider cars throughout the series. And the police car with Officer Saunders and Wallace narrowly avoids the oncoming semi-truck. And clearly this is not the first time they attempted this stunt, because you'll notice that the front of the police car is already bent up a little bit. We've got the hood popped. You can see it's just already mangled. So there you go. And just another view of the stunt car here off to the side. It still has its shell on it. It looks like the rear end's jacked up, but it is not. No high traction drop downs yet, but it's just the way the car is sitting. But we've got the stunt car here. Earl Billings, who played Shep, another accomplished actor. Bionic Woman, Roots, The Next Generation, Incredible Hulk, Twilight Zone, Hill Street Blues, Cagney and Lacey. And now we move to Carol and Michael in the hero car. Not too much to note here, except for the fact that we can still see the camera mount up here. I guess that's about it. During Devon and Shep and what's the third character's name? Pink, excuse me. During their escape, clearly these are all stunt guys. That's definitely not Devon right there if you look closely. And let's take another look at that. Yeah, that's supposed to be, this is supposed to be Pink, this is supposed to be Devon, that's supposed to be Shep, and that's not Edward Mulhare, that's not Jimmy Murphy. And then even here, this is Jimmy Murphy, but that's not Edward Mulhare. So we have the Great Escape here. A couple things to note about this yellow truck. If we zoom in, we can see we've got a license plate here, but it looks like they put a piece of tape over the California word. But this appears to be Jack Gill, just because Jack always had this little flare out of his hair right there in those early days. That looks like it's Jack Gill. And these are two dummies. This truck, if you remember back in our Slam and Sammy's stunt show spectacular commentary, we talked about the white Firebird and how it reappears in Trust Doesn't Rust. It's in an accident. Well, it's in an accident with this exact Chevy truck. So this is prior to that accident, obviously, but you can tell by the bar in the front and a few other details that it is in fact the exact same truck that runs into the Slam and Sammy white Firebird in Trust Doesn't Rust. So here we see the truck pulling by, and just, I mean, clearly dummies right here. And then we've got the big jump, and somehow Devon, who is supposed to be driving, got a jump harness and a helmet. So whatever, that's normal. It should be noted that this escape where Devon is driving a pickup truck and jumping over a fence due to a conveniently placed concrete bag ramp. Well, this is very similar to a scene that we see in a 1981 episode of The Fall Guy called That's Right, We're Bad. Colt and Howie are escaping from a chain gang, and they steal a pickup truck and they jump over a fence using a ramp made of bags of concrete. So this is another situation where Glenn Larson was still overseeing the show at this point, and that was obviously a gag that he liked from The Fall Guy, so he reused it here in Knight Rider. And we have KITT coming to the rescue, busting through this wall. We see this prison break scene again in Night Behind Bars. And pulling up, we've got the stunt car here, and you'll notice starting about now, the stunt car, these grills are a little bit more prominent. I think on the previous cars they had it painted black. This almost looks like they're the natural aluminum color here, and they kind of stand out a little more. But we get a good look here at they're still using the seat suit, as we call it. It's not actually a PMD seat that someone's sitting behind that's been modified, but it's a complete suit that someone wears. They'll change this here in the second season, where they actually take a real PMD seat and modify it so it looks more like a seat and not like an awkward hood that the stunt guys put on. And then immediately in the next scene, we're back to the hero car, and this is one of the few scenes in the episode where the hero car is moving under its own power. So my guess is, again, that they repaired whatever mechanical issue it was having. And then, of course, we cut to the stunt car with the shell on top here. That's a great look, isn't it? Just the car's all dirty and it's got none of the lines match up. I just love this. And if you look underneath, you can see the wire or the rope that's holding these two front fenders of the rubber shell together so they don't flop all over the place. If you look here, it almost looks like when they molded this shell, they molded it with the front Trans Am ground effects in place, because you can see that this shell has that. And then it's blurry because of how fast it's moving, but this is the ejection scene where they're ejecting Sergeant Wallace out of KITT. And again, another dummy here dressed up as a police guy. You can clearly see that here. I mean, just look at the legs, the boat out. Oh, and I'm not sure what this is right there. He's just excited to be jumped out of the car, I guess. I don't know. Continuing. And then we've got, this is the remnants of the, they actually had a real ejection seat in this car. Kind of dangerous. It could actually eject a real human out. But it was basically a giant platform that was released with compressed air, and it would shoot the guy out of the roof. It could be dangerous, I'm sure, if you weren't careful. And back to the stunt car here. This is just when they go to pick up Devon, and we still got the seatbelts. We have Carol gripping furiously to the seatbelt guide over here. Yeah, there's a good look at both seatbelts. We've got an overhead console that is failing, and we see we've still got these natural aluminum grills in place. And we can see that we don't quite have the turn signal droop that the backup to the Hero car has, and no tow bar. And Devon getting in. And then we switch back to the Hero car here for the insert shot. I always thought this was interesting. This is still the stunt car, but they seem to have forgotten to put the windshield in. So if you look here, it's clearly not a windshield in place. And whoever this guy is, it's not Devon. He's got brown hair and he's looking out the passenger windows. So I guess the camera can't notice that it's not Edward Mulhare. But yeah, no windshield. It'd make it kind of dusty. Not sure how the molecular bonded shell works at that point. And yeah, there we go. And great scene of this stunt. Obviously there's a ramp behind these few bushes here landing on this car. And just like I said previously, how do you know a car is going to get flipped or wrecked? Look for a roll cage inside. This one is heavily roll caged, you know, to keep from the guy in here being crushed. And then after that, KITT spins away, and get a great look at the factory Trans Am dash in this car. And the sun hits the dash just right that it really lights it up, and you can see all the factory Trans Am gauges in here. Here's where the turn signal indicators are, and the high beam indicator, and your tach and your gas. So they didn't bother doing anything with the inside of that car. So here we have Bruce Nichols, who played Pete in this episode. Bruce returns. He's another two-time. He returns twice. Once in 10 Wheel Trouble and once in Night of a Thousand Devils. And then we're back to what to me is a famous white bridge. And this bridge actually in reality leads to the Newhall Orchards, which ironically is where the previous scene where Devon was running through the orchard trying to hide from the police officers. That is Newhall Orchard, their orange grove, and this is the bridge that actually takes them there. So funny story, a couple years ago we went to this bridge. We were out in the area, and a group of us went to this bridge, and we turned onto the road, and we were so excited because we were getting to get to go over the bridge. And as soon as we turned onto the road, there was a sign that said the bridge was closed because they were filming a TV show there. So we got to see the bridge from afar, but unfortunately we just couldn't go across it, which was kind of disappointing, but I suppose maybe next time. And then we have our first appearance in this episode of the roll-caged jump car, acrylic window jump car, and the ramp is obviously right here, and they just decided to throw a piece of plywood up here just to kind of mask it as much as they could. And we've got a great behind-the-scenes collage of this jump. If you want to take a look at the end of the episode, you'll see the collage. Yeah, the front view after KITT jumps through it, and you can see that they did have the car strapped down right here, so they just didn't want the force of KITT jumping over it to move it forward while they were jumping. So you can see they actually had the truck strapped down to the bridge right here, and probably on this other side as well. And then to conclude the episode, we have Devon and Michael just discussing the experience they just went through. And this is another one of those rare times when Devon rides in KITT. I mean, we saw him in the pilot, we see him here, we see him riding KITT in Nightmares when April is driving, and we see him in Deadly Nightshade in the 4th season. But it's very rare to have Devon actually in KITT. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through No Big Thing. I hope you loved every minute of it. Please give us a big thumbs up on this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, so that you're alerted when new content is uploaded. Next time, we are digging into a big episode, Trust Doesn't Rust, and the introduction of Car. We've got some great analysis, especially on the cars, planned for this one, so you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Straight ahead.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right, since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.